Welcome to another conversation on democracy from the campus of Washington Jefferson College. Our guest today is Nathan Law, co-founder of the Movement for Democracy now underway in Hong Kong. Mr. Law is on our campus today as part of our third annual Symposium on Democracy. Nathan, welcome to the college. Many of our students, and perhaps some who are watching this recording, are not clear on what the origins of the movement in Hong Kong were. What precipitated the protests for democracy that you were so much a part of?
Yeah, the democratic movement in Hong Kong fight for the democracy and autonomy of Hong Kong, and it originates to the promise of the Chinese government. Before 1997, Hong Kong was still the British colony, and the negotiation between the British government and the Chinese government started in the 80s, and they reached a consensus that Hong Kong will be governed by the principle of one country, two system, which allows Hong Kong to be governed in a democratic way and preserve high degree of autonomy. But after 1997, under the Chinese ruling, Hong Kong became such a place that we're not familiar with anymore. A lot of democratic institutions, a lot of democratic norms are being demolished. And in 2014, the Chinese government even issued a white paper saying that you can never enjoy democracy. And that infuriates a lot of Hong Kong people. So we had a massive protest in 2014, and we had one in 2019, which they actually, in some sense, are coherent, that we strive for democracy and autonomy, and we don't want it to feel alienated anymore in our own city. So I think that is important for our younger generation and society as a whole to work together to fight for our future.
I think a lot of times our students imagine that a movement for change of any kind is really a movement that's led by an individual or a few people who are very high profile. I think in our country, people might think of Martin Luther King leading the civil rights movement here as a figure who became very symbolic, but also was very much the active leader of a movement. You've described the movement in Hong Kong as a leaderless movement. Now, clearly you are a leader, but the movement itself is a leaderless movement. Can you just say a word about how that would work? And where did you get the idea that a movement could actually function organically without top-down, clear leadership calling the shots?
Yeah, I think we actually took reference from a famous martial arts artist, Bruce Lee, the word be water, to really symbolize the philosophy behind the whole movement is we be flexible, we're adapting to a different situation, and we don't fix to very orthodox doctrine. And I think it works very well because in this age, we could communicate by social platform, by social media, or by like this electronic platform that could really instantly enrich the others and discuss tactics, and to remain a very fluid form of protest and organizational structure. And it allows us to kind of like eradicate the hierarchical structure of the protest, make it more inclusive to everyone, make the direct democracy and deliberative democracy feasible in terms of organizing the movement. So I think this is important to get everyone involved and get everyone's ideas. And ideas prevail the status of an individual, or ideas prevail the hierarchy. So that is something that could really attract individuals who have the agency and have the urge to change, to be involved. And that's why that kind of like attractiveness of the movement has been so enormous and is still growing.
And yet the movement has been unified around a clear set of objectives or goals that were set in the beginning that everybody adheres to and follows. It doesn't seem like there are conflicting goals in terms of what you're trying to accomplish. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is very important, because sometimes when we don't have a leader, if we don't have an objective, then people will consume a lot of energy on discussing that. But luckily we've got, like, because of historical background, we have different sets of ideas like democracy and autonomy that Hong Kong people shall deserve. And we've got a lot of incidents in the very early stage of the movement that triggered enormous anger of the people, so that they kind of consolidate a set of demands, a set of ideas that still for now applicable. And people don't really challenge that. So I think that kind of like consolidation of people's objective and goals really provide a solid platform for these leaderless movement in order to make everybody be united in the one direction instead of having a lot of internal conflicts.
Well, thank you for joining us today at W&J. It's a privilege to have you on our campus. We've been talking with Nathan Law, an organizer of the Movement for Democracy in Hong Kong. He's with us today for the third annual Washington and Jefferson College Symposium on Democracy.